Thank you for joining us today on InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw.
And I'm Mary Louise Van Natta.
We were talking about families in crisis, and that's also in the news. And it gets us thinking about what do people do right here in America where they're having a family crisis or problems and they just need respite. They want to take care of their children, but what if they're not in a position to take care of their children? That's where Safe Families for Children comes in. It's an organization, national organization with local chapters right here in Oregon. And specifically, we have our guest with us today, Terry Alexander. She's with Catholic Community Services. She's a program director of their community programs. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you.
Safe Families for Children is a nonprofit that started just exactly with that in mind. Here's respite for parents who really need it for their children right now. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
It started 15 years ago in Chicago. It's in 23 states now, and Oregon has 5 chapters, we're happy to say.
Wow.
Respite for children, what that means is when a family's in a temporary crisis, they can call Safe Families. We match them up with a safe home and family, and it's just neighbor to neighbor. It's like having an extended family to take your kids when you're just going through a tough time.
How does it work? So let's just say somebody, how do they learn about it, for example?
A lot of our partners in the community do know about it. Sometimes there's medical emergencies. There may be
Maybe you have to travel somewhere
with an emergency. Yes,
yeah. You can't bring your kids with you. So.
Exactly. It could be a death in a family, a family member that people are moving through the grieving process and need somewhere for their kids to be during a time like that.
Before we continue, in the news right now are families being separated, and I can just only imagine how much that must resonate with people like you and families who going through their own situations to know about this on a national scale.
What I think is great about Safe Families, it's basically going upstream. It's preventive as far as child neglect. Lots of families are under-resourced and they love their children so much, but if you don't have the resources, how do you keep them safe during a particularly difficult time? We all love children. Safe Families gives our community a chance to prioritize their care. And so we're really mobilizing community. It's almost like a social movement of how do us as a community, how can we stand shoulder to shoulder and help kids to have a safe community and a safe place to go when there's a temporary crisis.
And you, I know, are very safety-minded, isn't that correct? Yes. And really make sure that the families are engaged in the program, you know, are well educated as far as what their role is and that they're also a safe place. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be key.
Yeah, it's very similar to foster parent recruitment and training. So I want to look a family in the eye that wants us to have their child and say, this family is safe and I can guarantee it. So it's very important.
What more should people know about the Safe Families for Children program that gives them a better view of how it works and what it can do for them? Say they want to be a participating family.
Yeah, well, we have lots of different roles. Safe Families, part of the safety is that it takes a village to raise a child. So you will have a host family, someone that says, sure, I can take kids in. We have a family with 3 children and a husband and wife, and they just took in 3 other children. And then they go to their church and say, you know, I need help with diapers and milk during this period of time. They'll go to their neighbors and say, can you help me with transportation to get the kids to the park? So it's everyone that wants these kids to have a safe time. We do a temporary power of attorney with the family, just in case there's an emergency. We refer to it as co-parenting. It's not substitute parenting, it's supplemental to the families that are in crisis. So it's, again, I can't stress more about the co-parenting piece.
So, but you're also suggesting with your examples that there's a role for people to play, and a number of people can play with that one family, different things they can do. You can't do it all, so it can be farmed out to other people?
Yeah, well, our host families, there's no compensation whatsoever. So some people would rather buy a gift card for a teenager to for allowance or for recreational activity than have a child in their home. So we have a great database. So if we have needs to support during the hosting, we just send out an ask and people step up, and they're just happy to keep families together. And that's the other important piece, is this is about keeping families together.
Right.
Nationally, 97% of the kids go back to their home, so very few kids stay away from
And how long is the stay usually, or how does that stay conclude?
Nationally, it's about 6 weeks. We're happy to say locally, it's only about 21 days.
Okay.
It could be as little as 1 day, or with teenagers, it might be a little bit longer. Yeah.
In April, the founder of Safe Families with Children, with his own story to tell about it, he's from Chicago, was out here on the first Oregon Conference for Safe Families with for Children, and we were there taping that conference and got wonderful, moving testimonials.
Great.
We have some video.
I'd like to see that.
Let's take a look at that.
The problem with some of our families in our society is they have no one to step up and ask them for help. They have no one. Even when they ask, they get turned down. And so the trouble is, if you're going through difficulty and you lose your job, or your landlord doesn't pay the mortgage and you become homeless, there is no one there to step up and to help you out. And we know that when bad things happen and they continue to happen, that's when difficulties occur, particularly around children. So I started this idea called Safe Families really out of a very simple idea. And the idea is, how do we come alongside moms primarily, or moms and dads, and build a network of support around them?
When they came to me and they talked to me and they laid by my bedside, and I told them I wanted to give up. I have no support. I'm away from Texas. I have no family. The person that I loved is gone. How am I going to figure this out? And these people, they helped me so much. Little by little, the next day, Terry was bringing a pizza to the door. They had a safe family there to just to talk to. Someone to help me with my kids after school, or just pick them up for a couple of days just so I could breathe, just so I could get my house clean, just so I could take a shower. It was a big deal. When you go through something like this, you think you know who your friends are, but it took a complete stranger to come and to help me and to feed my children. And so when I tell you Safe Families is one of the most important organizations that this country, that the state needs, I would definitely recommend it, because I don't think I would have been able to get through it without them.
Wow, that is really moving.
It really
wonderful.
works. This program really seems to work for them.
I bet all of the viewers that are seeing us on CCTV or maybe YouTube, might want to get involved in this program, either as a host, like you talked about, or know someone in their community that could use the program, or has extra resources that they'd like to donate. Where can they do that?
I appreciate that, because we need advocates as well. Just Google Safe Families for Children, and also we're with Catholic Community Services as the implementers, so that's at www.ccswv.org, or you could Google Catholic Community Services. But we need a lot of people on our team, because again, this is a movement on how we value children in Oregon, really, in the whole state.
Terry Alexander, thank you so very much for joining us today, and I'm glad you could join us as well. Thank you. I'm Wendy Brokaw.
And I'm Mary Louise Van Natta, and we'll see you next time.